sit and talk to your partner face to face, eye to eye, and say some sincere shit to one another. How often do people do that?
If I cannot ask you to meet my needs or see my needs as important to you, then you and I probably aren't compatible, right? Because imagine spending your whole life with somebody who doesn't give a about meeting your needs.
I'm not going to do anything unless you do it first. I'm not going to show you affection unless you show me affection. Basically withholding it until you get it first.
I'm not going to let you get comfortable or put things that you think are more important, aka other people or responsibilities, before your goals, because I've been in relationships where people never want me to pursue anything, and that's not obviously the way that we work.
It's really easy and complacent to get, wrapped up in life and stress and what you got to do, et cetera, and then completely forget the thing that brought you together in the first place. And a lot of people are great acquisition, not so much operations, meaning not to make a business, not to make a business.
But it carries over so perfectly.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a shot. I don't.
No, it's all like
valid.
So that's, it doesn't make a business analogy, but it's true, right? So if we think about the effort that people put into the relationship in the beginning to acquire the love or the person, and then how many marriages or relationships dissolve or get dull over time because they stop doing those things. And I just think that if you take the time to write to your person, even if it's a note, dude, even if it's a short note, a sticky note, and leave it on the door or a mirror or something like that, like those little things go such a long way. And if you don't care enough to take the time to do something like that, again, relative to your relationship and how you need to communicate, but for us, the letters have been a great way to say some shit that maybe we just haven't had the time or the wherewithal or the ability to communicate in the day-to-day, chaos of life. And so for us, it's been great for connection because it's like, oh, I'm reminded. I don't know about you, but here's how I feel. Whenever I read a letter that you wrote me, I'm like, God dang, man, I feel so loved right now. I feel so understood. She actually does appreciate me. She actually does see the things that I do. She actually does notice all the things that I do. And so whereas if I didn't read that letter, I might have gone days without receiving any kind of, a lot of appreciation because we're working and we're doing all the things, and you do a good job of verbally affirming it as well, but you just speak way more in depth when you write, right? It's just a better suited way for you to communicate for you. And so if I went days without, hearing that or reading that in this case, I might start to feel unappreciated, or if I start to wonder if you still notice, right? But then I want to read that and I'm like, oh, she does notice. And it feels so good. And so that's what connection is. And then usually we embrace after one of us reads what the other one has written to us. And then we have a great moment there, an authentic, genuine moment, the moment that nobody will ever see, or which doesn't really matter at all. It's again, it's what you live versus what's portrayed. But like, I have such a high level of appreciation for that, and I have a high level of appreciation for you for continuing to, at times, remind me. You asked for a letter yesterday. You're like, hey, when you get a chance. Which that alone can feel kind of daunting to ask, to speak your needs for anybody. A lot of people struggle with that. It's like, for women, it's like, I don't want to have to ask. And for men, it's like, you just, I guess a lot of men just don't care or they stop, noticing. But you took that courageous step of saying, hey, will you write a letter for me? And I was like, of course, I'll write you one in the morning. And I did. And vice versa. Sometimes every now and then I'll ask you for one. But because I have needs too. But for a man, it's like, you don't want to feel needy. Or for me, I'll just speak for me. I don't want to feel needy, high maintenance, et cetera. Especially early on in a relationship, I really struggle. It's like, I don't want to feel needy because I've been labeled needy before and I don't want to feel needy.
Gross.
Yeah. But then over time, as you have just fucking, because you spoke of reciprocity, this last thing I'll say, but you spoke of reciprocity there, and you're the only person I've ever met in my life who would meet me there. Because I've always been a good writer and I can communicate well via the written word. You're the only person I've ever met in my life who was very reciprocal and didn't complain or criticize it or make me feel like I was weird or needy for communicating in that way, in depth via writing. We've done that reciprocally. And then that's one of the biggest things that made me just really freaking dig you in the beginning. I was like, man, I've never received this type of reciprocal love, appreciation, et cetera. And so just for what it's worth.
I say this is a note I think people should really consider when it comes to partnership. And we've said this before, as far as like, we are compatible in so many ways that we don't even talk about. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that we naturally just do because we're very similar in many ways. We love and we enjoy being loved in very similar manners. So it's not like we're trying to configure this puzzle of figuring out another person and or forcing ourselves to do things that we don't naturally want to do. That being said, as far as like vocalizing your needs, speaking your needs, the frame that I had to accept for me was I can either pursue somebody who fits this standard that I should love and I should be grateful for loving me or choosing me. Is a burden for you to acknowledge and or see my needs as important to you, then you and I probably aren't compatible. Right? Because imagine spending your whole life with somebody who doesn't give a shit about meeting your needs, who doesn't see that as a responsibility, doesn't care how you feel, doesn't care about, maybe your wounds or supporting you in your pursuing your dreams or making you feel loved, giving you appreciation or gratitude, taking time out of the day to do something for you. And if every time you ask for a need to be met, they blame you or they get mad at you or they call you a problem or a burden or whatever, it's like, is that truly somebody you want to spend the rest of your life with? For me, the answer is no. And so it's again not for everybody, but insofar as the quality of the life that I'm going to live, my husband is going to be the strongest contributor to that. That is why the person that you marry is so important as far as the decision that you make. They will have the biggest impact on you, where you grow, what you pursue, who you become, your self esteem, your level of confidence, and the depth of emotion that you can experience, all within the content of that coven. Um, and so I think again, it just speaks to the gravity of that decision. I think a lot of people want to get married and don't want to be a husband or a wife, and understanding the difference between those two goals will dictate how you move towards them, how you move through them, and how that ends up for you, in my opinion.
I would wholeheartedly agree. I think you meant covenant, not coven.
Covenant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we deal with
We
that.
don't want a coven.
No.
Covenant.
Mm.
Covenant.
Yeah. So other than that, just we do have a lot. Yeah, it was funny because before we even met, the story was, hey, you guys kind of speak really similarly on social media. You guys should connect. And it's funny because like not only did we, it wasn't just that like yeah sure we shared the same philosophy to a large extent on what we talk about health wise on social media, but then it was like, oh, we also do a billion other things similarly, and I think that's really really fortunate. I mean, like our day to day lives, we just it's always been so easy. I mean, we have very few roommate problems.
Yeah,
Other
you
than
said that to me before, and I think it's been fun for me, and I don't mean to interrupt you.
I was
Oh,
going to say, aside from your Pepsi bottles that you leave around the house and um, the the um, the Fairlife protein shake bottles in the bedroom, and
you leave them in there too.
every now and then,
It's not a
but
one-sided issue.
unless I get yours, they stay in there. And trying to think of anything else you do while we're at it here. So my point is that like I'm having a hard time thinking of things because there's very few things, and I say that to say like I'll take that all day long because that is not a given. Most people have some very very weird, quirky, sometimes messy. And again, I'm not for everybody, and I'm glad, but I have a way that I like to live where, to a large extent, everything has a place and it's clean. I'm not tyrannical about it, but I do not like dirt, mess. I don't like people who don't clean up after themselves. I don't like, and you're very much the same way. So that has always been, it's just been very easy. Like there's never been anything really. I mean, even the dynamic of having a son who's here half the time, that has always been easy as well. Your philosophy on that from day one, I thought was very sound and healthy, and that's only grown and been freaking beautiful. And we have a blast with him for the most part. And so yeah, we just on the note of like there's a lot of things we have in common that we don't even, or that just work, that we don't often acknowledge because it's just kind of autonomous.
And one thing I would add to that too is like our vision for our life is very similar. And the reason that I state that is because if there's a day, and I'll use fitness as a very easy example to give here, but like if we both say we really want to feel better about the way we look, not because we need to impress one another, like I adore my husband and he says he thinks I'm super hot. So, that being said, you might still have your
Yeah.
own like personal goal, right? And so what we've been able to do with that is one, I do go to Pilates 4 to 6 times a week, just depending on the week.
Of your
But if I
own.
say I'm going to work out, like I will work out. And so if he's going to work out and he doesn't feel like working out, if I go in the garage and he can hear the music, he will come in. This happened literally the other day.
Mhm.
And so, like, if there are days where I'm feeling less motivated, but he goes in there, I'm gonna go because I'm not a bitch. I'm not gonna not go work out. And the same with him. He's like, I'm not gonna let you work out, me not work out. Like, that's not how this works. And so, what's fun about that? Maybe it's, things that we need to do for the business and scripts that need to be written or ideas that need to be created. Like, if one of us sits down and starts doing it, the other one will buy into that because our vision is aligned for where we want to go, and we have to both hold our weight in doing that. Whether it's individual goals, like obviously I don't know if we've disclosed my book, but he's supported me in writing a book. And so I've been through this lull of like not finishing the editing because it's a lot of fucking work. And he's like, you need to just do that because the future version of you is depending on you doing that. And so like he will push me and remind me like, hey, you have these things that you are capable of. I'm not going to let you get comfortable or put things that you think are more important, aka other people or responsibilities before your goals. Like you need to show up and take care of that stuff, which I value because I've been in relationships where people never want me to pursue anything. And that's not obviously the way that we work. And so I am very grateful for that as well. But there's just a million little things um, that matter, whether it's how we wake up in the morning. Right now, I don't know why, but maybe since we moved into this house, like I get up before you every day.
Yeah, I don't know why that it used to be the
You
opposite.
used to get up before me, and I used to love it because you used to show me affection in the morning before you got out of the bed. But now it's reverse again. Everything that I think a very simple way, and I heard somebody say this, and I actually think I agree, but I'd love to hear your position on this, and this will make sense. It's related, but somewhat different than where I was going. The other day, I heard somebody say that men lead and women uh, reflect or mirror, maybe reciprocate your effort, right? So this is why I've always said you step by step, because it's a again, I agree with this. It's kind of an intuitive thing for me. I'm not saying it's right. And there are many moments where I do have to take initiative on things. So it's not a rule that's black and white. It ebbs and flows a bit. But in certain dynamics and relationships, I do think men who say they want to lead the relationship need to step into leadership. And that's not always making decisions, it's other parts of your relationship that you do. But if a woman is aligned with that, within the dynamic of relationship, she will mirror that back to you. Right? If you take a step towards her, she'll take a step towards you. If you put in effort towards something, she will mirror that back to you. And so I think one of the best things to pay attention to, whether you're looking for a relationship or in a relationship, and you're a man, and you say you want to lead, again, all of these checking a very specific box of desire here, but you are going to have to take initiative, I would say, most of the time. But if that's what you want, then that's what you need to do. And the person who is probably best fit on a compatibility level is going to mirror those things back to you 99% of the time.
Yeah, I think you said it. I mean, here's the you step by step thing, and I think essentially that's what you mean. I think the wrong part of that would be I'm not going to do anything unless you do it first. I'm not going to show you affection unless you show me affection. Basically, withholding shit until you get it first. That's where the you step by step thing, and this isn't what you meant, obviously, but that's where that can be problematic because the onus is always on the man to do everything and show affection and say things, or else what that nothing ever gets reciprocated. You never go out of your way to do anything for him or show it. So that's where it can be problematic. But as far as men leading, that's something I very much believe in, and I believe that because I believe women need to feel safe and secure, and leading and making decisions and um, you know I guess living the values that you have within the relationship and honoring those and consistency in behavior, that to me is a great way to for a woman to feel safe, to relax. And I don't want to mean say anything cringy here. I mean, this is kind of guru speak, to relax into her femininity. And again, I want to stay away from like that type of language, but basically just be her and who she is capable of being when she feels safe. Right. So, whether that's financially, whether that's pursuing something or taking more of a role around, being a wife, being a mother, all those things. It's like if a woman wants to pursue the full extent of that role, she needs to feel safe. And I think that a great way to help a woman feel safe to be all of her and be those things and for lack of fear of, being manipulated or taken advantage of or being used as a put a thumb on a person and control them. That a man needs to lead in those categories, and that does mean making the not making the first move, but just being a decision maker, taking initiative, and leading the relationship in a direction that is fruitful, that is safe, that is progressing, and stable. I think that's what to a small extent, that's what leadership means as a man is to take the initiative in those things and exemplify the mutual pursuit of where the marriage relationship wants to go, in all those categories, whether it be financial, whether it be your intimacy, whether it be parenthood, or what have you. I think that is the male's role. I am biased to believe that.
Yeah, and I think we've even had to navigate some of that along the way,
Hmm.
like with who is covering what or taking care of what or investing in this or, taking care of those elements along the way. And then you have conversations. I think we've talked about this maybe in another podcast, but like there's a period of time where I felt a lot of friction because I didn't understand which role I needed to play, right? Because I had my hands in both on big responsibilities. And so it was, I think it was good for us to be at that point, but also then find clarity on the other side of it of like, this is a now thing that needs to be done for where we are and where we want to go, but this is not a forever thing.
Hmm.
And I think that that was important because the reason that I say that is life circumstances aren't always a guarantee. And you just because you want to do something does not mean you have the means and or are capable of doing that right now. That doesn't mean the desire is not there or the ambitions aren't there or you aren't working to become that. But working to become does not meet you where you are, right? It meets you through the development of becoming that person. And so, from a female's perspective, and the reason I say this is because women on very extreme sides of that coin will say, well, I want a man who buys everything and pays for everything and covers all my expenses and does all these things. Like in the modern world, you have the ability to acquire resources, and that not may not be the position that he's in right now. And so you may have to contribute in that way. Um, as you guys build your lives together, those things can shift. But I don't ever want it to isolate the men who value those things as a general rule of thumb and are working to become that but aren't there yet.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think the hardest thing for men and women is when you do reach a certain level of success, whether it's true success or perceptions of success, you don't know if people want you for who you are or what you have. Right. And so that creates a lot of inner conflicts. Whereas one thing I love about LeBron James, for example, it's like his wife is somebody who's been with him forever. She was with him before he was LeBron James, as we know him. And I think that that is really difficult to find. I think that's why a lot of successful people end up with somebody who was with them before they became famous or successful, because you know that they're for the right reasons versus, I hate to say this, but cleat chasers, people that chase people because they have things, not because they like them. And I think that that's sad. But yeah, I just always want people to have hope for just because you are where you are right now doesn't mean that this is where you always be. And you can always get better and grow. But with that growth and success may come less than honorable intentions. And I think that that puts people in a very difficult position.